Issues in baseball ignite. And don't we love them? Like, why are the Yankees keeping A-Rod around after such a shady career? Did the Cubs need more than just skill to win? And what's Tim Tebow's secret to blazing a different trail? The burning issues of baseball, here on The Burning Issue.
Go, Cubs, go. Yeah.
After having a crack as a quarterback in the NFL, Tim Tebow decided he wanted something different. And in 2016, made the switch to baseball. While carving out a different path as a top-level athlete is difficult, we think Tebow has a better chance than most because, well, he's a little different himself. Tebow was actually a gun ball player in high school, on the verge of becoming pro. But instead of baseball, he chose his other love, going on to play for the Denver Broncos, New York Jets, New England Patriots, and Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL. It was during this time Tebow developed a quirky little ritual. He was often seen taking a knee on the sideline to say a few prayers in such a distinctive way it was dubbed Tebowing. In 2011, a fan set up a website so folks could post pictures of themselves doing the Tebow. And in just 2 months, there were over 20,000 uploads. Mascots in other codes started doing the Tebow. Even ski queen Lindsey Vonn paid homage, here Tebowing after winning the Super G at the Alpine World Cup. When Tebow announced his desire to play baseball, within no time, he was hit with offers from minor independent pro teams. He finally signed with the New York Mets to play in the Instructional League. In his first game, he swatted a home run on the very first pitch. To prove it was no fluke, when he made his minor league debut with the Columbia Fireflies in 2017, he carted a homer in his first at-bat. Tebow is certainly a different kind of cat. But to switch codes and start smashing it from day one, you also have to be a natural-born super athlete. And hey, if you're good enough to have options, why not keep them open? Up next, the Cubs' World Series win enchanted the world. But did it take more than skill to get there? The Chicago Cubs winning the World Series in 2016 after 108 years of joyless existence took some skill. They came from 3-1 down to beat the Cleveland Indians and deliver fans their first championship since the franchise moved to Wrigley Field. For anyone pinching themselves, first baseman Anthony Rizzo was loud and clear.
It happened, baby. It happened.
It truly sunk in when the rings were delivered. But was it more than just skill that got him there? See, there's some serious weirdness that's hung around the Cubs for a long time now, and it's made us wonder, was their ability to tolerate strange phenomena the key to their success? One of the most famous spooky stories in sport emerged from Wrigley Field, the curse of the Billy Goat, concocted in 1945, when a fan was asked to leave the stadium because he had a goat with him that was stinking the place out. As he was leaving, the old fella declared, "Them Cubs, they ain't gonna win no more." Thing is, 1945 to 2016, when the curse was supposedly broken, is only 71 years. It was 108 between wins, So where was the curse in the years before 45 when the Cubs sucked? Pitcher John Lackey had a good point about failing for over a century when he said, "I don't know anybody that's 108 years old. What does that have to do with anything?" Cubs head coach Joe Maddon was instrumental in breaking down the Moz. After their historic victory, he put the curse to bed.
There's nothing to do with curses, superstition. It has nothing to do with what's happening today, nothing. And if you want to believe in that kind of stuff, it's going to hold you back for a long time. I love tradition. I think tradition is worth time mentally, and tradition is worth being upheld. But curses and superstitions are not.
Speaking of tradition, Joe's habit of wearing special hats at press conferences showed that he was comfortable with weirdness. And his homage to the late 60s music festival Woodstock in the Celebration Parade was further proof.
Welcome to Cubstock 2016. Look at this thing. I wasn't there in '69, but I wish Richie Havens was here today, man. That'd be outstanding.
He was clearly among his people too, like outgoing catcher David Ross.
Chicago! Look what the boys got me!
And this group right behind me. Thank you, guys. Wait, how about a quick selfie?
But dealing with weird is what the Cubs do.
ありがとうございます。
In 2016, eccentric Japanese international Munenori Kawasaki was signed to the Cubs minor league team and renewed his contract in 2017 at 35.
Everybody love Kawa. I think so. Kawaも very movie star. You know, Kawasaki movie star. Yeah, everybody love Kawa.
Coach Maddon explained why they were so keen to keep Kawasaki around.
That's the kind of stuff that gets overlooked. Math doesn't always pick up on guys like that. And those are the kind of guys that are really wonderful to have.
Go Chicago Cubs, go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Chicago Cubs, Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Yeah.
There's a tradition weirder than any billy goats or singing players, though. Still riding the wave of World Series success, in June 2017, several Cubs were invited to the White House to meet U.S. President Donald Trump.
This is a great team, and they were actually here, but they wanted to be here with Trump, right?
As the Cubs weren't exactly carrying their form from the previous season at the time, the Donald had some odd yet encouraging words.
And your team's doing okay, but you're going to do great starting now, right? Starting with this visit. Does anybody want to see the Oval Office?
Former President Barack Obama was known for being, let's say, a little more socially graceful. But the fact he's a White Sox fan meant it was still weird. Team President Theo Epstein made use of Obama's wife Michelle being in the Cubs camp.
We know you may have certain allegiances to another team on the other side of town, but we know you're a very proud Chicagoan, and we know your better, wiser half, the First Lady, has been a lifelong and very loyal Cub fan, which we appreciate very much.
And Obama didn't let it slide.
I made a lot of promises in 2008. We've managed to fulfill a large number of them, but even I was not crazy enough to suggest that during these 8 years we would see the Cubs win the World Series. But I did say that there has never been anything false about hope.
Nothing false about the glory of victory either. And perhaps it's even sweeter when you have to wade through so much weirdness to get there. Honoring a retired champion is tradition, and David Ortiz was one of the best. But should they have just let his numbers do the talking? This legend is retired Red Sox home run hitting machine David Ortiz, more fondly known as Big Papi. The Dominican was the fourth player ever with more than 500 homers and 3 World Series championships to his name. With that kind of record, you'd think the Red Sox would let the numbers speak for themselves. But when the franchise retired his number 34 in 2017, before his old side's game with the Angels, they insisted on letting Big Papi have the ceremonial first pitch. Now, here's the thing. Ortiz always hit balls. He didn't throw them. And while he at least made it to the catcher's glove, it wasn't the best look. Even Bayern Munich star and former Germany captain Philipp Lahm was more on target when he threw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field before a Cubs game. As did former Barcelona and Spain striker David Villa before a Yankees game in 2017. And those guys are footballers. Ortiz isn't used to looking uncool. At 40 and staring down the barrel of retirement, he was asked if managing had entered his mind. But Big Papi had an image to uphold.
Well, you know, I don't really think I can be a good manager because I see that everybody a year later after they start managing, their hair start turning gray. Ask Pedro about it. Pedro, have you been a manager before?
Big Papi already left his mark in a way more appropriate manner back in 2016, when some crazy fanatics built this Big Papi corn maze to mark his impending retirement. Ortiz was taken up for a bird's eye view of the site, and wait for it. There you go. Now that's fan love. Corn mazes and duff throws aside, Big Papi said it best in his own words when he bowed out following his final game.
The game that I love, the game that made me be who I am, the game that I look forward to, get better every day. It's something that definitely I'm gonna carry it the rest of my life.
After the break, A-Rod's controversial career proves we'll forgive just about anything. There was a familiar sight during Yankees spring training in 2017. Alex Rodriguez in pinstripes, cruising around in the number 13. But it was no comeback. Having retired in August the year before with a season left on his record-breaking 10-year, $275 million contract, A-Rod found himself roped in as a guest instructor. Sure, mining knowledge from one of the game's greatest makes sense, but damn, it proves we will let anything slide.
Thank you, A-Rod.
A-Rod's record is a doozy. Winning the World Series in 2009, he was a regular All-Star between 1996 and 2011. And when he retired in 2016, he'd hit 696 home runs. But it's a tainted career. Things began to surface in 2007 when the infamous Mitchell report named hundreds of MLB players linked to performance-enhancing drugs. A-Rod was not on that list, but as a kind of nervous preemptive strike, he went on CBS to speak with journalist Katie Couric and deny ever using. Then in 2009, Sports Illustrated reported he'd tested positive to testosterone and anabolic steroids in 2003, to which he eventually confessed. But at the time, there was no penalty for such offences. Rodriguez brushed it off in his admission, saying the era was loosey-goosey and that he was young and stupid. It kicked off years of damning rumors and speculation about A-Rod's ongoing use, which wasn't proven. Then in January 2013, the Miami Times reported on a bunch of athletes linked to a wellness clinic in South Florida called Biogenesis. Seriously, how obvious do you want to make it that you're up to something dodgy? Biogenesis sounds like some kind of sci-fi lab for breeding superhumans. Anyway, the report alleged A-Rod was using beyond 2009 and as late as 2012. The MLB and the DEA launched investigations, resulting in a 211-game suspension, later reduced to 162 games, the largest in baseball history. It was to see him miss the entire 2014 season. But A-Rod's lawyer launched a series of appeals that kept him on the field for 44 grueling games, during which he withstood a constant hum of boos. Suppose you have to give him some kudos for stubbornness. When he came back after the suspension in 2015, Rodriguez projected an image of the whipped, remorseful puppy. Asked if he'd change anything.
Oh, we don't have enough time for that. There was plenty of mistakes along the way. I cringe sometimes when I look at some of the things I did.
A-Rod came out with the understatement of the year when, between tears, he finally announced his retirement in August 2016.
I'm gonna be hopefully remembered for someone who tripped and fell a lot, but someone that kept getting up.
For all the drug-tainted scandals he dragged the Yankees through in his career, franchise principal owner Hal Steinbrenner and his brother, co-chairman Hank, apparently had a bottomless pit of mercy.
Involved that, oh, if I just came back and had one good month, you could get there.
Being a Yankee means everything to me. You know, I'm grateful to Hank and Hal for the opportunity they gave me to rehab my life and get my life back in order from all the great mistakes that I made.
Why was he allowed back into the fold so many times? Yankees coach Joe Girardi probably said it best.
Yeah, I think we live in a forgiving society. You know, overall, I think we live in a society that gives people second and third chances, fourth, fifth.
And sixth, and seventh, and eighth, and ninth, and... Really, allowing Alex Rodriguez to continue with the Yankees in any capacity is kinda crazy, let alone as an instructor and mentor. Baseball is supposed to be a team sport, but there are times when a player steps up and turns things into a one-man show. While we often poo-poo a greedy player, are they sometimes good for the game? No athlete has so stubbornly done things his way than the talismanic early 20th century slugger, Babe Ruth. Ruth began his career with the Boston Red Sox in 1914, then carved out one of the most famous legacies in baseball with the New York Yankees, before finishing back in Boston with the Braves for a single season. By the time he called it quits, Ruth had carted an incredible 714 home runs, a major league record that stood for almost 40 years. But it's the way Ruth started his career that proves being selfish can be good for the game. Some of you may not realize that the Sultan of SWAT began as a gun pitcher for the Red Sox, even pitching a record 29 scoreless innings in the World Series in 1918, which stood for 43 years. He was obviously a gifted batter as well, only home runs weren't desirable at the time. With primitive ball technology, the aim was to hit flat shots at gaps in the field. Pundits actually ridiculed the 6'2", 200-pound Bambino for his hulking lumberjack batting style. But fans quickly grew to love his home run hitting showmanship. And here's the thing. When he gained national adoration as a batter, Ruth refused to pitch anymore. The Red Sox needed him to pitch so badly, they had to placate him with bonuses. The more famous he became as a batter, the more he'd threaten to quit pitching, and the more money they'd have to pay him. The Bambino didn't spend his bonuses wisely either. Babe was a heavy gambler. Only, as sports writer Glenn Stout once observed, Ruth really didn't seem to get the concept that he was supposed to win. Betting was just one of Ruth's many, many flaws. An incessant party boy who would often take bites out of other people's sandwiches and use his roommates' toothbrushes. But he was always forgiven for his misbehaviors. He was so adored that when Hank Aaron was sitting one home run shy of his record in 1973, Aaron received death threats in the off-season, surviving to hit number 715 the following year. No one can deny that smashing balls out of the park is now the gold standard of baseball. While he might have been a selfish ratbag, Babe proved doing it his way could change the game. It's a legacy that now looms large in wax at Cooperstown, New York Baseball Hall of Fame, where Ruth is an inductee, and has inspired generations of youngsters to take up the game. Like 6-year-old smarty pants Jacob Shady here. During a game of T-ball in Alabama, Shady took out a third of his Alex City opposition with this triple play. Babe was no doubt looking down fondly on that little one-man show. Still to come, can America's favorite pastime ever become the world's favorite pastime? America's favorite pastime ventured beyond the shores of the United States long ago. Japan, for instance, took to the game fanatically decades ago and has produced homegrown heroes who've taken the MLB by storm. Like the great slugger Hideki Matsui, aka Godzilla, who won the World Series with the Yankees in 2009. Or Masahiro Tanaka, who was an all-star in his rookie season as pitcher for the Yankees in 2014. Baseball is massive in Central and South America. Nations from those regions performing well in the World Baseball Classic. The tournament designed to spread the game the way football was via the World Cup. Japan dominated the first two installments before the Dominican Republic claimed victory in 2013. Puerto Rico made the final in 2013 and 2017, but fell heartbreakingly short both times. Baseball in Asia and Latin America is going strong, but there's one place the game has struggled to gain a foothold: the UK. To break into the land of good manners, the MLB had the brainwave of launching Battlegrounds in London's Hyde Park on Independence Day in 2017. Former Major League players Cliff Floyd and Carlos Peña were rolled out for the Home Run Derby. Floyd, a World Series champion with the Marlins in 1997, still had chops, as did 2009 All-Star Peña. While the crowds seem to enjoy themselves, the MLB has to remember that it's up against the country's most adored pastime: football. The Premier League is the largest football league on earth, and its fans take the thing kinda seriously. Cricket also has traditions as deep as a love for drinking tea among the English. International cricketers Joss Butler and Alex Hales, who attended the festivities, were asked if they knew some baseball terms, like, what is a 6-4-3 double play?
Postcode?
Hot dog, is that understand?
or a bullpen.
Is that where you stand to bat? Oh no, that's a plate.
It's basically the area where all the other pitchers sort of wait for their turn.
There you go, you learn something new every day there, haven't you?
Butler might have struggled with the terminology, but his cricket skills proved useful when he stepped up to the plate in the Battlegrounds contest. Baseball is steadily growing through much of the world, but with behemoths like football and cricket to contend with in the UK, it might be a while before it becomes part of the furniture.
He will not be